personal foul, grasping the helmet opening? Yeah, that's what the Redskins are doing right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2, kick it.
Welcome to the Gridiron Guru, the second installment, our second episode, if you will, coming to you on the third week of the 2009 NFL season. We're going to do a couple fun things today. First thing we're going to do is go over the matchups. For those of you who weren't aware and weren't following us on Facebook, I'm going to end up posting, whether by video or by blog, my picks for the week, the Saturday before the games, or in the case of a Thursday game, the day before. And then in addition to that, we're going to go over them and see how I did. And unfortunately, this week I went 8-8, but we'll talk about that 8-8. We'll also have a long chat with the Grasshopper, and we'll even hear from the Broncos Sage, who called in to razz me about our Broncos. So to start it right off, we'll go right into the no-brainers. The no-brainers I had this week, I actually did fairly well. We're still in the middle of the Monday Night Football game, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. But right now, I'm pretty safe. I had Baltimore beating Cleveland easily, which we know that they did. I had Houston over Jacksonville. That's a coin toss. That was one way or the other. Jacksonville came up with a couple of huge plays late to be able to secure that one. Giants over Tampa, 24-0. Easy call. Philadelphia over Kansas City. Kansas City is quite possibly the second worst team in the NFL, next to the St. Louis Rams. The Chicago Bears over the Seattle Seahawks ended up being a lot better game than we thought they were. The Bears definitely miss Brian Urlacher. And then I have I have Dallas over Carolina, which is proceeding as we speak. The Cowboys are looking a lot worse than we thought they would. Carolina is stepping it up, and it makes you wonder: is this new stadium really distracting the Cowboys players or not? We'll have to find out how this plays out over the season. But the games that look better than they are, but they really are no-brainers, I really hit the tank. I went 1-3 in these. The only one really being San Diego over Miami. That one was a foregone conclusion, even without the season-ending injury of Chad Pennington. But obviously that's pending him going and seeing Dr. James Andrews. But I have a feeling, and this is just my own personal feeling, I think we've seen the last of Chad Pennington. I don't think that you can come back from 3 surgeries of your throwing arm. I just don't think that that's possible. So moving on, the Titans over the Jets. I kind of sort of got that one right because the New York Titans beat the Houston Oilers. But no, the Jets really held strong, and Mark Sanchez, 3-0 as a rookie, first rookie to do that since the merger. That's an incredible start. It's really going to be interesting to see if they can hold that throughout the stretch. Then you've got Arizona over Indianapolis, is what I said. Indy obviously easily won that game. The Cardinals were nowhere near prepared for that. It seems like that they've turned into a road team. They're playing completely different on the road than they are at home. Is it possible that they can fix that? We'll see. It was kind of the exact opposite before, but just so everyone knows, Kima's behind the camera flipping me off. Then, of course, I chose Oakland over Denver. I still don't think Denver is anywhere near. I don't think we've seen what Denver really is. They are 3-0. They say you are what your record is. I don't believe in the Broncos, but this is what Broncos Sage had to say about the Raiders and the Broncos game.
The Raiders have shown their true colors again this week, and they're not a team that's going to put up anything. They've got 5 of the hardest games the next 5 weeks, and Denver's going to easily win the AFC West Conference with wins over the Chiefs, Raiders, and even the Chargers.
And, of course, not to be outdone, Broncos Sage then had to continue to talk about Kyle Orton versus Jay Cutler.
Another thing that I thought was pretty funny is everybody sitting there saying, "Oh, Jay Cutler, man, they lost Jay Cutler. He's so big, and the Bears got him, and they're so cool, and whatever." And then everyone's like, "Oh, Kyle Orton, he sucks. The Broncos got him. They're going to suck this year." Well, who's 3-0 and who's just barely 2-1 after barely just winning the Seahawks in the last second? But
and we've been completely disagreeing over the Broncos. She's always been this great Broncos fan. She has absolutely zero perspective on the Broncos, but for some reason, whenever I've picked them to finish dead last, she always picks them to finish in the middle of the pack, and they end up doing it. But this time, she's gone way overboard, and this is what she said.
So I'm not saying that they're going to win every game or whatever, but I think they've come out with a good start, and I don't think it's...
And that's my weekly Raz from Broncos Sage. I'm sure she'll be calling more often. Eventually we'll get her live on the program, but I'm sure you're going to be hearing these rants all throughout the year. Moving right along into the easy upsets. The easy upsets, I still only got 1 out of 3. I took the Lions over the Redskins. That was my big one for the week. I'm telling you, the Redskins have their tails between their legs. They have no offense. They have no offensive weapons. I thought it was hilarious this morning on Colin Cowherd on ESPN Radio. Caller called in, and Colin asked them, "Who's the one player you have on offense? Who's that one player?" And they said, "Chris Cooley. He's an offensive lineman with hands. You can't have something like that." So it's funny because they actually have no offense, and if Albert Haynesworth is hurt, this team could be heading down a very, very slippery path to the 3rd pick in the NFL draft. I had Buffalo over New Orleans. Buffalo did show up. It was a lot more scrappier of a game than a lot of people anticipated. New Orleans still squeaked out with the win. St. Louis over Green Bay, I had completely wrong. I still don't believe in Aaron Rodgers. Still absolutely do not believe in Aaron Rodgers. But the Rams have made themselves in the 90s look like less of a joke. Al Bundy once said, "If you lose to the Rams, you get kicked out of the league." Okay, the Rams could at least win a game back then. The Rams will not win a game. We may very well have our first back-to-back 0-16 season ever. I mean, we never thought it would happen again, and it happened last year with the Lions. I'm telling you, this team is bad. Mark Bulger is hurt. Steven Jackson has no one to run in front of him. He's got no one to block for him, and this defense is more porous than a holy sponge, than a hole in the ground. It's really bad. It's bad football. And honestly, this year, if you lose to the Rams, you should be kicked out of the league. Ouch, that upset hurt. I did get both of those right. I picked the Patriots over the Falcons, while the Falcons weren't all that much of a match. You know, we kind of anticipated that they would do better against the Patriots, and they didn't. I did take the Bengals over the Steelers. The Bengals decisively over the Steelers. It was a phenomenal game. And then finally, the 49ers over the Vikings, which the Grasshopper and I will discuss at length. I did have San Francisco winning by 4, and I was right until 2 seconds before the end of the game. That's when the entire dynamic changed. And we'll be back with the Grasshopper right after this.